I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Apparently I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy.
What's happening? Me and Mike Schmidt here to talk to you on the 40-Year-Old Boy podcast. It's yes, it begins. Finally, I'm the Rock. Finally, Mike Schmidt has come back to podcasting. I have people writing me all the time. We're very nice and saying, Mike, you should do a podcast. Just felt weird. Felt weird doing one for a long time, but you know what? I'm doing fuck all these days, and I was very lucky that a good friend of mine, a young man named Eric, has volunteered his services, talked me out of retirement. I wasn't in retirement. I was sitting around. I was sitting in my apartment waiting for somebody to do the work, like I always do. And Eric was very nice, and he said, you know what, Mike, you should do this. And I said, all right, I'm going to do it. I get a lot of emails from people telling me I should do it, so now I'm doing it. So I'm going to come at you hopefully every week, maybe twice a week. You know what? 7 days a week. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a year off, and then I'm going to come back and do one every single fucking day. That's what I'm going to do. Come right at you with podcasting aggression. That's the new name of the show, by the way, Podcasting Aggression. You remember Podcasting Aggression? They were a band. They opened for the Beatles. That seems weird. Why would they open for the Beatles? In the early 70s, did anybody truly know what podcasting was? And if they did, would they name their band after it rather than develop the technology that could make them rich? I have no idea. So the 40-Year-Old Boy is the podcast because that's who I am. 40-year-old boy. I'm a 40-year-old guy who fucking plays with iPods and Xboxes and goes to movies and concerts and wouldn't dream about putting money in the bank. I was going to call it the Grasshopper from the Ants and the Grasshopper, but I said to myself, you know what? Nobody remembers Aesop's fables. Aesop should have had a fucking podcast. People would remember those goddamn stories. All right, so what I'll do is I'll be telling you stories, and because apparently I'm Garrison Kaler. I'm going to tell you stories. Go ahead, folks. Everybody sit on my electronic knee and let me spin a yarn. No, I'm going to talk. I'm going to tell you nonsense that happened in my life. I'm going to tell you shit that's going on and shit that's not going on as I try to venture outside of these four walls inside of the Ant Farm that I've called my home for the past 10 years here in Los Angeles / Valley Village, California. With my wife, Karen, by my side. Yes, she's sitting here right now making biscuits while I talk. Why would she do that? That makes no sense. No, she's at work. She has no idea I'm doing this. She doesn't even know I'm a comic. She thinks I'm a painter. All right. So I'll be doing this every week, telling you stories. And here's one. I'll tell you, you know what? I have a website, MikeSchmidtComedy.com. You may have been. If you haven't been, you should start going. Seriously, because it's great. It's been up for a year. I think I've posted blogs 5 times. Holy God. And by blogs, I mean communiques. I hate the word blog. That's why I called it a communique, thinking I was different than everybody. And everybody still writes me and go, hey, great blog. So I guess I should just call it that. But I like to see communiques because I like a little French on my website. A little French. That was actually the name of my autobiography for a while. A little French. That makes no sense. So MikeSchmidtComedy.com is where you can go and visit me and read all about communiques and stuff. And this is actually a story that I was going to write last summer when it happened. But then, unfortunately, everything came up. And I decided not to sit down and type because I'm very lazy. But I'll tell you now. So brace yourselves. This happened. I'm at Louisa's Trattoria in Los Angeles, California. This is a fine dining establishment. And by fine dining, I mean they have napkins. So I'm there. I'm having lunch with my wife. And Karen and I are sitting there. And if you know me, you know that I'm a person who, if I run into a celebrity, I might say hello to them as if I know them because I think it's funny to do that and see their reaction. Or if I see somebody who looks like a celebrity, oftentimes I'll say something like, oh, look, how does Abe Vigoda feel about it? And I only say that if the person looks like Abe Vigoda, because that would be really strange if they didn't look like Abe Vigoda and I said that. It would make no sense to anybody at all except for me. And believe me, I'm used to that. So I do that a lot. Somebody will walk up who looks like a celebrity and I'll go, how does Wink Martindale feel about it? Again, only if they look like Wink Martindale. That is the rules to this game. Those are the rules to this game. These are the rules to this game. My wife has picked up this annoying habit. So Karen and I are sitting at Louisa's Trattoria, and she says, how does Steve Perry feel about it? And I look at her, and I turn around, and I'm not kidding. Steve Perry from Journey is actually walking into the restaurant. And if you don't know who Steve Perry from Journey is, first of all, hang yourself. Second of all, go to Amazon and look up Journey. And third of all, probably go to Amazon before you hang yourself, because it wouldn't make any sense for you to hang yourself and then go to Amazon. So I'm sitting there, and by the way, I also get this. I know that there are two very distinct Steve Perry camps. There are the people who are like, haha, Journey, remember the Separate Ways video? Journey blows. And then there's the, oh my God, fucking Steve Perry, I'm going to blow him and give him my wallet. And I will let you guess exactly which one I come in under. But I can tell you that my wife was getting her knee pads ready because I was going to talk to Steve Perry, whatever she had to do to arrange it. So Perry walks in, and a dilemma comes in. Do I approach Steve Perry? Again, I'm not a guy who usually just goes up and bothers celebrities. If they happen to walk in and I catch their eye or something, and maybe sometimes I'll lurk as they leave. And by the way, there's nothing more comforting for a celebrity than to see a 6'2", 280-pound guy lurking just on the periphery, because they know something good is about to happen then if they see that guy in the shadows waiting to confront them. So Steve Perry, and also let me bring this up, by the way. Steve Perry comes in. He looks exactly like Steve Perry. And I'm talking like 1980s Steve Perry. Like, he hasn't changed. He's not gray. He's got, there's like a scar on his throat from, I don't know if you heard he was in a bottle knife fight with Kevin DeBrow from Quiet Riot. Not really. But I don't know why he has a scar on his throat. Maybe he had a nodule or a node or something else that begins with N in his throat that they had to remove. So, but he looks exactly like Steve Perry. He's got the same Steve Perry hair. Same Steve Perry face. The only thing missing is the Steve Perry mustache from the Faithfully video, or the Steve Perry white coat and suspenders with no shirt from the Captured album cover. So that's far too much information about Steve Perry. So I can tell you. So I'm there, and I look at Karen, and I see Steve Perry. So I make a decision. I am buying Steve Perry's lunch, and I mean literally buying his lunch, because I know that sounds like a euphemism for something. Hey, you see that guy? I'm going to buy that guy's fucking lunch. No, I mean I'm really going to buy Steve Perry's lunch. So I flag the waitress down. And also, I got to mention that when Steve Perry walks into Louisa's Trattoria, everybody there knows him. He was greeted like he was fucking Louisa herself. Everybody in the place, all the waitresses, cooks, Mexican busboys, arriba, Steve Perry. They're all crazy fucking excited. So I figure, all right, well, then they know him. So I'm going to, they just completely give him the norm treatment. So I bring the waitress over, and I'm quiet about it. And I ask her to do me a favor. You got to do me a favor. Please bring me Steve Perry's check so I can take care of it. Oh, and don't tell him, too, because I want it to be a crazy surprise. And she kind of gives me a look, and she pauses, and she's kind of back and forth about it. And she actually says, she goes, why would you want to do that? I'm not kidding. I lean forward, I looked her in the face, and I go, because it's Steve fucking Perry. Seriously, I'm a 40-year-old white guy. How do I not buy Steve Perry lunch? For God's sake, I probably owe the guy a week's worth of lunch because of the fucking Escape album alone, for Christ's sake. So she still thinks I'm crazy, and she gets weird, and then that makes me feel weird. And believe me, if there's one thing that I do not like doing, it's making life difficult for waitresses and waiters. I'm a nice guy, but I don't want to be treated like a king or anything, but I also recognize they're a person, and they, I want the job done right, but I want to be nice to them. So anyway, and it freaks me out because I have a friend, my friend David Lawrence, who I do his podcast sometimes, he's a great guy. Jesus Christ, we go to restaurants together. He talks to waiters as if he was speed dating them. It's the craziest fucking thing. Yeah, by the time this guy leaves the table, I've got his fucking horoscope sign. I know he's an actor and what actors group he went to, and he's a friend of the actors gang, and blah, fucking blah, get me some goddamn soup. So, the waitress looks very uncomfortable, so I call this whole thing off. It makes me sad, but I go, you know what? She's not into it, and I don't want to freak her out, and because I think if it's freaking her out, she's going to roll her eyes when she gives Perry the check, and then he's going to fucking give me the stiff arm, and I'm not interested in that at all. I don't want to be a fucking weirdo in front of Perry. I want to be a hero. That's why I'm buying his lunch. I don't know if I want to be a hero. That seems strange. Put on a cape. Buy a guy some lunch. So I back off, and it actually pisses me off, because I didn't buy George Clooney dinner when I had a chance. I was in a sushi restaurant, and George Clooney was sitting there with someone, and we were the only people in the restaurant. I could have very easily gotten his check and fucking paid for it, but I fucking shined it because the staff didn't understand English, and I didn't want them to somehow charge me for George Clooney's car. I don't know how it was going to work. So I'm sitting there, and so I said to Karen, I go, well, this is, I can't believe that she kind of talked me out of it. And Karen, of course, is starting to nod off because she can't believe that I'm making this big of a deal out about lunch for Steve Perry. So then the waitress, after like 5 minutes of me, whining about it, maybe she heard me. I hope she didn't, but maybe she just did this on her own accord. Comes around the corner and she says, you know what? I'm sorry. It's not my place to tell you something like that. If you really want to do this, then you should. And she hands me Steve Perry's check. How fucking cool is that? So I go, no problem. So I've already paid my check an hour before and sat there for an hour wondering what I should do and if I should buy Perry lunch. But now it's time to pay his check. So I cough it up. Now I give her my credit card. I pay the check and I wait. But as I'm paying the check, Steve Perry goes to the restroom. And the waitress goes, pays the check, and tells the guy who ate with Steve Perry that we paid his bill. And he comes over and he profusely thanks me and my wife, which is great. He's a nice guy, but I didn't buy this guy fucking lunch. I bought Steve Perry lunch. And now I think I'm getting the Steve Perry shiv because fucking Perry's in the bathroom. I bought lunch and I'm getting like pseudo congratulations from a Perry surrogate. I don't want that. I want to talk to fucking Steve Perry. And now, stupid me, I'm wondering if there's like a window in the bathroom where he's going to fucking just launch. He's going to fucking, or I guess it's Steve Perry, so I guess I should say escape. Ha! Escape! It's an album. Fuck off. Anyway, so so I'm waiting, and but then after a couple of minutes, Steve Perry comes out, and his buddy tells him that Karen and I bought his lunch. And he could not have been nicer. He talked to us for like 10 minutes. He was so cool. And this is last summer, so the Sopranos finale had just come out. So, he was all excited about Don't Stop Believin' being the final song. And, of course, by saying he was excited, I mean I was excited, and he tolerated me babbling about anthems and childhood and fucking blah, blah, blah. So, again, he's great. We talk for a while. He goes to leave. And then, of course, because it's me, fucking awkwardness has to happen. It couldn't just be I bought Steve Perry lunch and he gave us a little captain salute and then wandered off into the tour bus with fucking Ross Valerie. No, he has to fucking go to leave. He shakes my hand and he gives me a hug. And I'm mentioning the hug for a reason that will become apparent later. It's not like I'm bragging about hugging Steve Perry, although, fuck, why wouldn't you? No, I mentioned it because he stole my wallet. Seriously, he thanks me for lunch. He turns to Karen to say goodbye. Now, I love my wife, okay? And she's great. She's listening, so I need to say that she's great and I love her. But I will tell you this. She's a fucking banana head. I mean, she does like the most retarded stuff. And then we'll just give you like a smile like, ha, I meant to do that stupid thing. So Perry goes to shake her hand. He shakes her hand. And then this happens. With her left hand, she reaches and she grabs Steve Perry's head. Literally palms his head like a fucking basketball because there was like a piece of fuzz in his crazy shiny hair. And I mean, it was so shiny you could see yourself in it. She honestly, there might have been fuzz on her face and she saw it in the reflection of herself in Steve Perry's hair. But she went to get the fuzz out of his hair, but he's coming in for a hug. So he zigs when she zags. And instead of getting the fuzz, my wife gets a fucking handful of Steve Perry's hair. And seriously, if there was security, they would have tackled her. They would have wrestled her to the ground and I would have let them because I can't believe she made this move. Now he jumps back and he's like, what the? And she's like, oh, there's a piece of fuzz. Which, you might have told him that before you jacked him upside the fucking head, but fine. But he laughed. We laughed. Everyone goes their separate ways. Separate ways, more journey. And my wife sold the hair on eBay. So it's a win-win for everybody. So all this happens. And I get to my car and I call my friend Pat Francis, who is the only other gay for Perry guy that I know. And I tell him about it. He freaked out. And he understands because Pat is a guy that we will go to concerts together and then he will bring albums and we will lurk around the tour buses trying to get a bass player to give his signature for some reason. We stalked Todd Rundgren one time. We were outside for 2 hours waiting for Todd Rundgren to finish a steak. How fucking horrible is that? So Pat calls me last week. Now, again, this happened with Steve Perry last summer. Pat calls me last week and tells me that he had his own Perry adventure at fucking Louisa's Trattoria. What are the odds of that? Sadly, though, it was Tyler Perry. Ha! No, it wasn't Tyler Perry. But honestly, what the fuck is Tyler Perry going to be doing at Louisa's Trattoria other than buying the goddamn place? How many times is this guy going to put out the same fucking movie and people are still going to go see it? I don't get it. I'm stunned. And apparently, he's the most prolific writer in the history of Hollywood because every time I turn around, the guy's got a series, he's got a movie. Anytime somebody's dressed up like a chick, they got to send a check to fucking Tyler Perry. He's the Black Milton Berle, and that is not a compliment. And he puts out all this stuff. It's like, and I'll be in the checkout line at Ralph's, and they have those screens up there. I'm waiting for a Tyler Perry film to come on. Seriously. And whenever I see the ads for those movies, it's the same movie over and over, and him with the fucking crazy glasses. And it reminds me when I was a kid, there would be these plays that would run at 2:00 in the morning. Not the plays, the commercials for the plays. They would run commercials. What if the play ran at 2:00 in the morning? Would you go see a play at 2:00 in the morning? I don't think I would. But it would be these plays at 2:00 in the morning. They would advertise, and it would always be like, "Your arms are too short to box with God," starring Fred Rerun Barry and Walona from Good Times. I don't know why those people were doing plays. I don't know how they got them to be together. Does Rerun wear the hat? I have no idea what's happening. But it would always be these weird. And by the way, getting onto that, I got my Newsweek today in the mail, and on the cover of Newsweek, there's a picture of Barack Obama from the 70s. He looks exactly like Dwayne from What's Happening. And it says, when Barry became Barack, which is great because Barack Obama carries a little gravitas. Would you vote for president for Barry Obama? I don't think you would. So there you have it. That's my Steve Perry. That's my Tyler Perry. That's my Obama Barry. That's my Perry King. He was on TV in the 70s. No, the 80s. Maybe the 70s. I don't know. He was like a Johnny Jaw guy with a big pointy jaw. Not like a Leno jaw, like a crisp jaw. Crisp jaw? That's a good name for a band. Crisp jaw. All right, so there you go. That's what I plan on doing, man. I just plan on telling you stories, and hopefully you like them. And if you don't, you can go ahead and post feedback on iTunes, and you can send me emails and tell me things, because God knows I will take all of your suggestions to heart, as I do whenever you send me emails telling me to do a podcast for the past year. See, I took your advice. It just took this long. You can go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com, always for appearances and communiques. There are no appearances on the horizon, I must tell you. I am going to be doing travailing the open mic seas here in California, going back and forth, to and fro, doing all sorts of laundromats and barbecue restaurants. So you can see me there, or you can write me at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. That's Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Go ahead and send me a letter and let me know what you think about this rambling nonsense and whether it's worth continuing. And also, you can get us through iTunes, I think. We'll see if they approve it. We're going to send it to them, because I was told today that they have to listen to a snippet of it before they put it up. And I got to be honest, I don't know who the fuck is doing that job, but he's asleep at the wheel, because I have heard some garbage on iTunes. I have heard people just somnambulantly telling me about fantasy baseball. I have heard all sorts of horrible podcasts. And I heard a guy, he was doing a podcast, he's interviewing a guy, and in the middle of it, his dog starts barking. Now, wouldn't you, first of all, stop the recording? Just go, excuse me, hold on a second, my dog's going bananas in the other fucking room. Secondly, this guy does not do that. He posts it with the dog barking, and then this. Like, you just hear the dog going, hur, hur, and the guy goes, hey, tss, tss. He's like clapping at the fucking dog to get him to shut up, because that's what dogs do. They respond to applause. Usually when they're barking and they're in the other room, if you start clapping at them while Ron Chandler babbles on and on about what center fielder to draft in your fucking fantasy draft, the dog will immediately shut up, because he recognizes that you're doing some amateur broadcasting out of your fucking living room. Get up and tell the dog to shut up, or put it in the goddamn yard when you're doing a show. Who do you think you are, Will Carroll from Baseball Prospectus? Yes, I'm calling you out. So hopefully iTunes approves me, even though I didn't have any fucking monkeys jabbering in the background of this thing. And it was funny, Eric, my friend Eric Butterfield, who has been nice enough to come here with his equipment and record me and actually put a fucking boot in my ass and get me to do this. He was the one who told me that they need to approve it. He said his words were to make sure that there's even people talking, because he thinks that there's no real arbiter or censor of quality. He just wants to make sure it's not like a test pattern or just like a screeching noise that they would put up to hypnotize somebody, or just, it seems like if the Joker had an evil plan, he would go ahead and just submit a podcast and they wouldn't listen to it, and then it would be some weird ultra high frequency tone that turned people into flesh eating zombies. I don't know why the Joker wants people to eat themselves, but apparently he does. So, all right. So go ahead to MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Write me at Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Look for us on iTunes. I hope, if I can get past the Council Guardian, and he posts it up there for the 40-year-old boy. And thanks, man. I appreciate all your cards and letters. I don't know if you're sending me cards via email. I haven't gotten them if you have, but I know you're sending me emails. Nobody sent me a card. How sad would that be? Somebody sent me a telegram. Stop. You must do a podcast. Stop. So thanks. Thanks for everything, and let's hope you guys keep hearing it every week, and let's hope my good friend Eric Butterfield, thank you very much for coming out, and thank everybody. So go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com and check it out. This has been the 40-year-old boy. I've been Mike Schmidt. I apparently always will be Mike Schmidt. I don't know why I've been. I am, and I always will be. Folks, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a decent guy, because I am a jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy, but I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff, and I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick.
You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished.